It is Tuesday again in MLB the Show 22, which means we have another episode of Tier List Tuesday. We're not going to talk about the individual players on the tier list as much this week. We're going to talk about the positions as a whole, because this week we have the Legend of the Franchise program, 30 new diamonds, all 99 overall to MLB 22. So I want to go through what we may have in store for our content, some of the players that we've had revealed thus far, give you an idea of what you're going to want to likely upgrade this week for your team in Diamond Dynasty. Let's hop on into it. So as you see, I have my tier list just to go through all of the rundown of things very quickly, because I am going to go speed mode here. These are my experiences. You don't have to agree with every single player that I suggest. These are merely suggestions for people who are looking for different players to try each position, maybe certain attributes that I personally look forward to, and all of that when trying to make a World Series push. So if you have players you really enjoy, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, because I do hear your comments, and sometimes I do underrate players, and after reflecting in your comments, I decide to move them up or down based on what you guys say, because your experience do also matter with these tier lists. But let's hop on position by position very quickly here. Here's the catcher tier list. And as I talked about last week, it's a very lackluster position right now. There are a bunch of solid catchers like Kendall, Yachty, Bench, Napoli, Alvarez, Cartaya, who are good right now, but I think on Friday could get an easy upgrade. There's already been at least one player announced thus far that I think is going to be the best catcher in the game. It's going to be that type of position that you're probably going to look to upgrade in the featured program, especially with one player that's been already announced I'm going to talk about in a moment. So definitely keep your eyes out on Friday for that catcher position. Even if you like Mike Napoli, there will likely be at least one catcher that is a better overall hitter. First base is really stacked. And being real, for some people, they might not find an upgrade in this featured program. You know, if you're someone who just got George Brett and grinded all of that time to get him, you might want to keep him on your team if that means keeping him at first base. He is still a top hitter in the game. It's just that we might have one or two really good hitters that are just as good as Frank Thomas, George Brett, and so on this week. So keep your eyes out on it on Friday, but for many people, I doubt this is a position they really focus on upgrading unless there is someone that is really good that comes out that's like a top tier first baseman that's like end game level. In terms of second base, this is going to be a position I think many people will consider upgrading. If you haven't completed Extreme and haven't tried Cano, he's been who I've been using. I've been loving him a ton. Mookie Betts is great, however, you face a lot of righty starters right now. Jackie Robinson is great, but lacks the power a bit. We could maybe get one or two second basemen that are of those players' levels, or maybe even better, depending on what you like. However, I think some people will stick with using 99 Mookie or Cano. I'm going to probably use Cano for a bit longer, or Mookie, because I do personally enjoy their type of cards. But if you don't have any of those guys, or maybe haven't liked them, there isn't that much depth in this position, so I can see there being a lot of big upgrades inbound this week. We move over to shortstop, and it definitely is lacking its depth as well. However, there are a bunch of viable options at this current point in the game. You know, the S tier has a lot of well-rounded hitting, fielding, speed options, but no one's really next level, you know? Shortstop is one of those positions that does not have a player like George Brett or Austin Riley or someone of that caliber, defense, speed, and hitting to the next level. So really your best option is maybe someone like a Chipper Jones, who's a really good hitter, or someone like Ernie Banks, who is actually a very good hitter still, or just sticking with someone whose swing you enjoy in that S tier. So this might be a position that gets a big upgrade, especially as an opportunity in a Legend and Flashback collection this week. Third base, as you will see on this tier list, is an extremely stacked position. One of the most, I think the most stacked positions in the game right now. The thing is, as of right now, 4 of the best hitters in the game overall exist at third base. I think Donaldson, Brett, Chipper, and Riley are 4 of like your top 10 overall hitters in the game. And they're all primary third basemen. And even though they have secondaries, you can find a way to get them in. You know, you may want to stick to that big name third baseman that you really like, whether it's Chipper, Riley, Donaldson, or Brett, or even Jim Thome. So I think this might be a position that people don't upgrade this week, because I don't know if there's gonna be anyone that's gonna be better than these players. In terms of the outfield, it is always a stacked tier list each week, you know? A lot of very solid players amongst each position, whether it's a corner outfield or center field. If you don't have Andrew McCutchen, you could definitely use an upgrade in center. You know, you might not have Willie Mays yet. You might not love Cedric Mullins or Corbin Carroll, or at the very least can use an upgrade from them. If you have McCutchen, you're probably going to want to stick with him. Also, Mookie's a great outfielder, Larry's a great outfielder. There's so many options for you to use there. You could likely choose 3 if you have really been playing the game a ton that you really like. There might be some big names coming on Friday. You know, you never know how good attributes are on the players that we get. If they're treated like retro finest players, but in this featured program style, then some of these players might be really good and better than we expect. So all I gotta say is be prepared and open to try players, especially in the corner outfield if you have McCutchen. Because at this current point in the game, there are a lot of good left fielder and right field options, but each of them have some sort of weakness. I did some minor tuning to the starting pitcher tier list because I think I've made a discovery that pitchers like Grayson and Pedro and Messina are still very solid right now, but on the upper level of the game, they can prove to be pretty inconsistent. They aren't pitchers that are going to be consistently lights out for people to the level that Randy and Nolan Ryan are. They have such good velocity, and something about them makes them so good. The guys like Grayson and Hamels and such, I've found to be pretty inconsistent when I've faced them and when I've pitched with them. So keep your eyes out on the S tier. They're going to be viable starters for you, but you probably want to still push for Randy and Nolan Ryan to be that ace level pitcher. And I could see maybe one ace level pitcher being a big legend in flashback collection or some sort of pitcher we get this week. So you might have some change in your rotation coming here, mainly in that 3, 4, 5 spot. And then in terms of relievers, I really do think relief pitching is really weak at this point in the game. It's kind of sad because it feels like we haven't gotten many relievers. Players are still using Cishek and Yohan Duran in the bullpen. So at this point in the game, I want to see them start to drop more relievers, and that might start with this featured program as we're getting more 99s. I could see a couple teams potentially getting a 99 reliever in the featured program. I could see a few teams getting relievers here and there, so keep your eyes out. You may have 1 or 2 relievers you at least want to add to your bullpen. And at the very least, as we get to this point in the game, you'll likely start to see some really good 95 plus relievers, because other than Billy Wagner, we really haven't gotten many really good 95 plus relievers. I think there are a lot of good ones, but no one's really incredible other than Chapman, Raleigh, and Billy Wagner right now. And as you see, we have gotten some reveals in terms of the cards in the program. You see, we've got Boggs, Cy Young, Sean Green, Brooks Robinson, and Jorge Posada. And a lot of people's initial reactions have been, you know, most of these guys are mid. Posada's never gotten a 99 before, so people are excited for him, switch hitting catcher. But in terms of guys like Brooks and Cy Young, they're usually pretty underwhelming high overall diamonds. And Wade Boggs is pretty underrated usually. People aren't really too excited thus far, but I do want to mention something that, you know, maybe people haven't thought about. Like Cy Young, I know is usually a pretty underwhelming pitcher because of his pitch mix, but for guys like Sean Green and Brooks Robinson, their higher overalls thus far have usually been pretty underwhelming. This might be an opportunity for SDS to really boost them, especially in this series, since they aren't using a very strict series. They're using faces of the franchise, so they could probably do whatever they want with a player. So someone like Brooks Robinson, if they treat him like retro finest cards have been, might be a really good third baseman with some top tier contact and power and really good fielding. So I don't think we should count out these bosses yet because we still haven't seen attributes. And once we see those attributes, we might have some top tier position players at every position throughout this point in the game. And it might really cause chaos in the game and might cause the market to absolutely crash because everyone will be able to get these cards for free in the program. And people have definitely said the same thing about some of the guys in the AL Central reveal today. Because, you know, Trammell and Torrey Hunter, Brett Saberhagen are usually players that don't have some super intriguing cards. But if they're really nice with Alan Trammell, I don't think he's gotten like a full-blown 99 before. He usually gets like a high 90 that isn't a 99. He could be a fun shortstop. Torrey Hunter getting a 99 would be really fun because he'd have great fielding, potentially good speed, and probably good contact. And Ray Durham getting a 99 could be a switch hitting second base demon. So, and then of course there's Cliff Lee, who 97 Cliff Lee was a favorite last year, and he's gonna get a 99. So he might be a top tier starter. And then we still have 4 more divisions to get throughout the week. So keep your eyes out. I'm gonna cover all the bosses and announcements as we go. And I'm gonna go through and start thinking about who are gonna be the ones people want to target first. Make sure you are subbed to the channel because on Friday when this program drops, I'm gonna go through all 30 of the bosses go through each pack and let you know which ones you should be picking first. And it'll actually be a more deep dive of a review. I'm going to go through each attributes and give my initial thoughts before having used the cards, so you can get a good idea of which cards are the best to take in the program. These are some of the previous best cards we've had for these players, and as lower overalls, they haven't really been too great, but as 99s, many of them could be good. Like, look at some of the weaknesses on their cards, like imagine Torrey Hunter being better versus righties and stacked versus lefties. Imagine Jorge Posada's getting a straight upgrade in his hitting attributes. Imagine Cliff Lee getting a better hits per 9. Imagine Wade Boggs getting maxed out contact and like 80-something power versus both sides. Could be very nasty as third base. You know, if we get cards like the previous feature program in this current feature program, one for each team, we're gonna have some really stacked teams at this point in the game, and a lot of players that are going to be worth trying. So I'll keep you all updated on the content we get this week. And I appreciate you all watching this video here today. Make sure you let me know down below who you want to see in the upcoming featured program. I'm going to keep you all updated on that this week as we find out more info and then trying out these cards after they drop. But you all have a great rest of your day. I appreciate you all watching this episode of Tier List Tuesday, and I'll see you all again on the next video tomorrow. Deuces.
I practice what I preach. They lie, put around my way, think it lost to see. Not sure what you wanted, but I'm what you need.